Now, all that being said, does that mean that poetry and fantastical writing doesn't contain aspects of truth? No, of course not. Perhaps in a mythical sense, and perhaps in a very real sense, these writings do hold very real truth. But poetry and fantastical writing very seldom hold truth in an obvious, surface-reading way. So, if you happen to be one of those Christians who tends to ignore the idea of Christ coming again to earth, the idea that everything on earth will one day change, I challenge you on that. I challenge you to push yourself to live with a hope so radical that it includes a future not just for you, not even just for your loved ones, but for everything. And how do we get there? If you think it's by our power, working with the Spirit of Christ in you, then get off your butt and do that, knowing that your acts with others' acts all combined can change the world and usher in a new age of respect and love, an end of greed and poverty. You know, I get really excited when I watch documentary shows about all this 2012 stuff. You know, 2012 is pretty close. Wouldn't that be amazing if we were just on the brink of a completely new way of relating to one another across the whole world? A new way of relating to the planet even, with respect and love, giving up greed. That's really exciting to think about, at least for me. And that excitement may be why every single generation since the death of Christ has had a group that has believed that generation will be the last, that the end time will come during their time. 2012 is not a new concept. Every generation has had one of those dates looming in their lifetime. I think this speaks to the importance of the hope for something better, the endurance of this immediacy. Of course, it could also speak to humanity's great self-centeredness, with no generation willing to see a future without its own existence. But if you are instead one of the few mainline Christians that has a very strong doctrine of the second coming, you believe in it, you have the timeline sequence all figured out, well, then I challenge you as well. The truth is, we live in a culture of scare tactics. So we as Christians do need to distinguish ourselves, to be in the world, but not of the world. Talk about your beliefs on this matter delicately. Now, I'm only talking about those who have it all figured out. If you're still questioning everything, talk all the time about it. Talk to everybody about your questions. But I'm talking to you now. If you think you have it all figured out, I'm talking to you when I say, talk about your beliefs on this matter delicately. If we truly want to save others, which as disciples of Christ, we should, right? Then our primary goal form a covenant with that person. And when we hold one another in covenant, a relationship of mutual affirmation and admonition, then we can start going to the deeper stuff like, are you ready? Without offending. Offending someone right from the start just doesn't seem to be the best way to save someone. So perhaps you need to check your motivations if that's your preferred strategy. But the doctrine of the second coming, just like the other eschatological doctrine, the one about heaven and hell, this doctrine offers us a blessing of immediacy in our faith. The reality is, none of us know the date or the time, whether it's just you or it's all of us. None of us know when we will go. It is a gift to be reminded of that, so that we remember to live intentionally. We as Christians are called to not let life slip through our fingers, to not let it be an endless debacle of traffic jams and stressfully missed deadlines. The time is short. The end will come. So be ready for it by living intentionally. Do you want to live a life of service and praise? Or do you want to live a life of self-centered stress and anxiety? God has given you a choice, at least for a short time, and Christ invites you to choose life.